Good evening. It's 6:30 p.m. on Monday, January the 24th, 2022, and I now call the Winton City School Board of Education meeting to order. Please turn your cell phones to silence and rise with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Seymour, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Birdie?
Present.
Ms. Bryant?
Present.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Present.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Dr. Johns?
Present. Thank you. Our first item on the agenda this evening is district honors, recognition, gifts, and introductions. Superintendent Smith, you have the floor.
Yes, Madam President and Board. We have a variety of people that provide different services to the district, and some of those services kind of go unnoticed. And I'm pleased to say that I received a letter and an email from several parents saying that the crossing guard that we have is the greatest that we've ever had. She's amazing. She will not let you cross that street. She will not let you put on the turn signal. She protects the kids with her life almost every single day. She's there on time. She's punctual. She does the same work the same way every day. The kids love her. She's consistent and she's amazing. And so what we wanted to do is recognize her because parents love her. They love her work. And it says media specialist and crossing guard. She has 2 jobs in the district. The Board of Education commends Ms. Hasser for providing excellent customer service as the crossing guard during annual and dismissal times at the Winton South Campus. A letter detailing how she provides her crossing guard duties with professional and caring demeanor was recently sent to the district. So Ms. Hasser, absolutely, you're wonderful. We appreciate you a ton, and we have a nice certificate for you. I don't think anybody's ever received this award, so this is the first of its kind. And so I'd like you to say a few words if you don't mind.
Well, as many of you know who have come through my intersection, I am very consistent about who I have follow all of the rules. But seriously, it's something that Mr. Denny and I have talked about over the years, that he wondered if it could be a volunteer position. And I said absolutely not, because it's very enormous and detrimental all at the same time. And I would hate for a volunteer to be put in that position. So, thank you.
All right,
Thank
very
you.
good.
Thank you.
So she's actually stopped me a few times, so I try to drive different cars, and it doesn't matter. She stops me anyway. The next presentation is to an incredible organization, the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated Phi Psi Omega Chapter. Ms. Carolyn Patton, President, and Ms. Gail Lewis, Program Chair. And we have another member here. I don't have your name. Tell me who you are.
My name is Crystal, but I was the co-chair.
Okay, co-chair. So here's the thing that makes the AKA so incredible. They have a check, and it's going to be donated to the Fine Arts Department in commemorative of their 20th anniversary, correct? I am very, very happy that you guys are giving us a blank check. Thank you very much. That I get to fill out and put whatever number I want. No, the donation is for $500, but these ladies have been absolutely consistent every year, and we appreciate you and we appreciate your generosity to the district. So a round of applause. So, well, come on up. You're going to do it right up front. So since Tanya Bray is a member of the sorority, we're going to let them make the presentation to her. That would be really cool. Sorority is a sorority. Just makes it nice. You know what? I've always wanted to be in a sorority, so let me get in here.
Nah, I don't think so.
They wouldn't let me in. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. The jackets are beautiful. When do I get mine?
Mr. Smith, Miss Jordan wanted another picture.
Yeah, for that, yeah.
Okay.
Did you want to get him?
Yes, please, all of you will get
Dr.
in.
Johnson,
Yes,
this is your sorority?
absolutely, absolutely. Oh, I'll come over and take a picture.
No,
we want you to.
Oh, absolutely.
This is amazing. Thank you for your consistency. Appreciate it. Squeeze in there.
Are you ready? Yes, I am.
On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Again, 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Wait. Okay. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Make sure those aren't blurry.
Is it turning right way? Make sure.
Yeah, I'm left-handed, sorry.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So I have a sister that's a illustrious member of this organization, and I can tell you they want to take picture.
The picture check, and this is the real check.
The real check.
For $500.
Thank you very, very much.
We are
So,
so grateful to be in it.
right here in the mic so we can make sure we have it recorded.
That, like I said, that's the picture check, and this is the real check that I'm presenting for $500. And we are so glad to be in this community. We've been here for 20 years, and we've always had some connection and some relationship with your district, Winton Woods School District, and we will continue that. And we look forward to that continued collaboration.
And I have to tell you, for the years that I've been here as a superintendent, you guys have been very consistent. Every year you come with a donation, so thank you very much. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We definitely appreciate that.
So the next gift is from our good friends Centrillo Signs in Fairfield. And they've been wanting to make this sign for years, but they couldn't because we didn't win the state championship. So now they have the opportunity to make us this beautiful banner. We're going to get some pictures of that banner because it's at the North Campus. So come up, sir. So, who came with you tonight? No one? Your son is over at our basketball player against our team right now, right? Okay.
About 7:30.
So turn the sign around. Okay. And we need to get a photo.
Yes. Count of 3, 1, 2, 3. One more, please. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
I have to tell you, their work is absolutely impeccable. So thank you very much. And we need to give you a few words with the mic.
I'll do my best. Not very good at public speaking, but actually it's just a small token of my appreciation for you guys giving me a lot of work that you do. So for them to win a state championship, I understand all about that because my daughter won like 3 of them at M&D. So
Basketball.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it takes a lot of work and dedication, and those kids, they deserve it. So appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I have to tell you guys this quick story about this football team. Well, this is the South Campus where our youngest Wee Warriors are in grades 1 through 6. And they see the superintendent and they don't understand if that's the superintendent. Sometimes I'm the president, sometimes I'm the superintendent. And then when I came through, we have our spirit day and I had on athletic gear. And one of the little girls screamed out, "That's the football coach," right? And so, of course, another kid says, "Are you the football coach?" And I looked around, I didn't see any adults. I said, "Yes, I am." So at the end of the day, I had the whole second and third graders, "Bye, coach." And I'm like, "Bye. Eat your Wheaties and drink your milk and do all this other stuff." So whenever they see me, they call me coach. And I'm sure Coach Murphy wouldn't appreciate that, but that's part of the story. All right. Our next is for the illustrious 5. Okay. January is School Board Recognition Month, and I am really excited because you have Miss Deborah Bryant and Mr. Brandon Smith that have only been to one meeting and they're actually being recognized. So you guys must be some powerful people. All right.
Work.
So the student, staff, and communities of the Winton Woods Schools join the Ohio School Board Association to honor the exemplary leadership, service, and endless hours of dedication given to our elected board members on behalf of our school district and its communities. We thank our board members, President Dr. Viola Johnson, Vice President Mr. Jeff Birdie, and board members Ms. Deborah Bryant, Ms. Paula Kuhn, and of course Mr. Brandon Smith. Winton Woods High School Student Council President Miranda Johnson and Lindsay Pineda will present certificates of appreciation on behalf of the OSBA to our board members. Come up.
For Viola Johnson.
When he's standing between the two of you, get a picture. Yeah. Do you see it, Mrs. Jordan?
Yeah. Great. Three. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Step this way.
For Jeffrey Birdie.
Do you want, for consistency, do you want to be on the other side?
Signs upside down, start.
There we go. 3, 1, 2. One more time. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
For Deborah Bryant.
Well, that's what I was thinking. We'll,
All right. I'll count 3, 1, 2, 3.
yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Paula Kuhn. The next one is for Brandon Smith.
I was smiling.
Mrs. Jordan, if you could get us as a group picture right in front of here, that would be great.
So Ms. Jordan is my
We're
executive
gonna go on
assistant.
front.
She's also a pianist and she's a photographer now, so she does it all.
Other dudes, all else
Yeah,
is a
bring
song.
your,
That real small print.
Okay, thank you so much.
Can you guys get by okay?
Yeah, certainly.
Start right there.
Sounds good.
Like, who are you guys?
All right, and 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Superintendent Smith, and congratulations to Mrs. Leah Hazard and to the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, which I'm also a member of. We appreciate your support of our district, and to Cirillo Signs as well, and our other community partners who donate time and effort toward our students in our district. The board would also like to, I think I speak for everyone when I say the board would like to thank you for recognizing us during this appreciation time, and just know that this is a labor of love that we do, you know, so we appreciate the fact that you say thank you to us. So with that said, it is time for us to take one second.
Yes, the school district and all of its partners, especially with the teachers and staff and administrators, they wanted to have a special thanks to the board members for all of your work, and so they have special gifts for you since this is Board Recognition Month.
Well, thank you. My goodness. Lots of goodies in here. I'm not going to pull them all out, but they're like lots of goodies. They're like Christmas. My birthday.
Well, we want at least Brandon to show what's in the bag because he can get his back in quicker.
Thank you. Thank you.
And just sit tight for a minute because we brought a professional photographer to come in to get your board pictures. And on the break, we're going to go to the lake and to the woods so you can get your other pictures.
The lake in the woods. I'm like, okay, that sounds like a long walk.
So Brandon Smith, show what the district.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. Tissue paper.
Okay.
So it looks like a hoodie.
State championship shirt.
State championship hoodie. I love it. Official Winton Woods mug, so I can drink my official Winton Woods tea. We got the book, Savage Inequalities.
Yeah, we're going to be reading that book as a board, so you should be already on half the book by the time we have the next meeting.
Right. The official Winton Woods pen to sign on my documents. And the ever so handy district calendar.
Absolutely. Who doesn't need one of those?
Thank you, thank you.
All right. Thank you all so much. We really do appreciate your efforts in recognizing us. Like I say, this is a labor of love, and so we appreciate being recognized, and we appreciate those of you who pour into our students in the district. It means a lot to us, so we really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And we'd like to thank Miranda and Lindsay again for taking time out of your busy, tight schedule to come this evening. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, now we should be going on a 5-minute recess. We need to take our board group picture. So there's going to be a 5-minute recess while we go and do that, and someone will give us directions on where we're going. So I have no idea.
Yes. Where is that crossing guard? This is when we need you.
Mrs.
So, Ms.
Hazard, can you help us?
Ms. Hazard.
Can you help
Hazard,
us?
take the team to the woods. There's the sign in front of the gym, and then the lake. You know, the two signs? Yes. Thank you.
Okay. The next item on our agenda, we're back after our recess. Maybe it took a little longer than 5 minutes. We do apologize. We were getting group board pictures taken. The next item on our agenda is 4.01, which is public comment. And I have a public comment sheet here from Donna Black. Yes, you can take the podium.
Okay, thank
the names. I was looking at last year's calendar for the board member names.
Okay, yeah.
And I do have everybody a packet here.
Okay,
What I'd like to do, though, is read from the podium on my letter.
okay.
And I'm in education for over 25 years, so if you keep your papers turned over while I'm speaking. I'm just kidding. You can pass those down. They're kind of in order and kind of not. The names are correct on there. I'm gonna save Brandon's. Would you like me to do that for you?
He has no idea what he's supposed to. He's like,
I'm
what am I
sorry.
doing here?
No worries. I emailed these to Jeanette. Brandon. I'll be reading from your copy, so you can have this copy.
Thank you.
Jeff. And that's the documentation that doesn't need to be shared. Dr. Johnson.
All right,
Letter. Here's a
okay.
packet that doesn't need to be shared.
Okay, all right, we'll leave them here and here, right?
Here's what I'll be reading from.
Sure.
Okay.
And here's the documentation.
Okay.
And Deborah, nice to meet
Hello,
you.
nice meeting you as well.
Here's your letter.
Thank you.
And this is the documentation.
Thank you so much.
All right.
All right. All right, you have 3 minutes, okay?
Okay, thank you. I'd like to begin by saying good evening, and where's Brandon? Cheers to you, thank you very much. Thank you. I almost took the 2009 team to state, but we got stuck over in Canton, Ohio.
Oh, man.
First, allow me to introduce myself. My husband and I are both Green Hills High School graduates, class of 76 and 77. All 3 of our children are Winton Woods alumni. Daniel, class of 2000, Christina, 04, and Katie, 06. On July 23rd, 2008, Katie and I were involved in a tragic car accident. I returned to work part-time in October and full-time in January 2009. Katie was finally able to graduate from Wright State University in 2012. Katie was born with spina bifida. I have to take one of these things off here. Can I go like that? Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Katie was born with spina bifida, and just one of her struggles because of a Carey complex is cognitive reasoning and mathematics. After failing a basic math course required for graduation and appealing academic probation 3 times, she joined her siblings in the ranks of college graduates. I began my career in Winton Woods City School District in 1996. Steve was employed by the district briefly in 99-2000 before beginning employment at the United States Post Office as a truck driver. It's hard to believe that that was 22 years ago. He's looking forward to retiring within the next few years. He spent most of his years as supervisor of vehicle maintenance. He will retire as manager at Sharonville Distribution Center. Since February of 1977, I've been treated for bipolar 1. This chemical imbalance is hereditary and usually presents itself in adolescence, as was the case for me. It is passed genetically with the highest incidence to male offspring. I was a senior in high school and acting recklessly as a child of the 70s when I was first diagnosed. For many years, specifically my childbearing years, I was stable and had no need for adjustment of medication or counsel of any therapist. Katie was born in April of 1988. By December of that year, depressed, I spent a weekend in the hospital to get the care I needed for specific care to bipolar depressive health. Time was my best friend, as it wasn't until the following spring and summer that between myself and my medical professionals, I could forge ahead through any breakthrough manic behavior that might occur. The next time I had great stress in my life, as if I needed practice, began on March 12th, 2020. Throughout the early days of the pandemic, though, it was actually therapeutic. I loved the outdoors and travel, so I visited long-lost family and friends. I continued to adhere to all directives given by Anthony Smith and Thomas Gray. While my daughter and her fiance only lost their sense of taste and smell for a couple weeks, that's time up already? Yeah. Okay, so let me skip to the end.
Okay.
Very respectfully, I submit to you these minutes and these notes. And Brandon, I would have taken that team in 2009 all the way, but thank you for taking us the rest of the way. And I respectfully submit this to you, Donna Black. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Yes, thank you.
Take care.
Board, I think we'll have to read this and.
Well, you know, that's why I set it up that way.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Black.
Sure, Mr. Seymour. Thank you. You have a good evening. Thank you, Mrs. Black, for your comments.
Thank you.
Yes. The next item on the agenda is 5.01, which is the Winton Woods Teachers Association. And we have a representative here tonight. No. Okay. So moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is 5.02, which is the Ohio Association of Public School Employees. And we do have a representative.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, Madam Board President, Board members, Superintendent Smith, OC members, community members. It is my honor to be here tonight before you in person. On behalf of OC members, as OC's president, welcome new board members, Ms. Bryant, Mr. Smith. Welcome back, everyone. Happy New Year. Wishing everyone to stay safe, please. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We missed you. Thank you for joining us tonight. The next item on the agenda is 6.01, which is the approval of minutes as presented. Board, unless you see any necessary changes to the minutes, a motion would be in order.
Madam President, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Are there any questions for discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call the vote?
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Ms. Bryant?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye. That vote passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is 7.01, which is the Treasurer's Report for Financial Statements for December 2021. Mr. Seymour, you have the floor.
Yes, the end of December, which was halfway through our fiscal year for the 21-22 school year, our year-to-date revenues for the general fund were at $22.8 million, and our month-to-date revenues for the month of December were $1.6 million, which was mostly state foundation. Our year-to-date expenditures were running at $24.7 million, and that's currently about 4.5% under budget, or for the first half of the year, roughly $2.4 million. Our financial, all funds had a balance of $15.8 million, and $10.3 million of that was the general fund, and $2.9 still remains in classroom facilities. The only other thing that I might mention is that Mr. Smith and I continue to monitor all the expenditures and anything that we see come before us that might be related to learning loss recovery, such as new software or Chromebooks or anything like that, and also any kind of personal protective equipment or anything related to COVID. We've been rerouting those expenditures to our federal emergency relief recovery funds. So we constantly have certain things that teaching and learning want to do because of learning loss recovery, such as tutors or special after-school things, and we are constantly trying to reroute all those expenditures to federal funds. But I just thought I might mention that for this current year. And of course, we have those funds through 2024. And that's basically a summary of the financials for the first 6 months of this year.
Thank you, Mr. Seymour. With no objections being heard, let the financial statements for the month of December 2021 be submitted for audit. The next item on the agenda is 8.01, which is the Treasurer's recommendation for investments for December 2021. Mr. Seymour, back to you.
Yes, we had approximately $28.4 million in cash and cash equivalents for the month of December, of which we earned approximately $4,000 on, of which $3,400 was the general fund, and building fund is clear down to around $500 for the month of December of 2021. And that's basically the investment report for interest earned for the month of December.
Thank you, Mr. Seymour. Board, a motion would be in order.
I'll make a motion to approve the investment report as presented.
I second the motion.
It's been motioned and seconded. Are there any questions or discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Ms. Bryant?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye. That vote passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is 9.01, which is the facilities update. I don't see Mr. Denny, so Mr. Smith?
So we're excited that we are starting the abatement of the intermediate school. And I know Mr. Seymour has mentioned ESSER funds to you several times, so this is not from the general fund, this is from ESSER. They have allowed districts to upgrade their facilities with windows, doors, HVAC system, so we took advantage of that opportunity. What we're going to do next week, we're going to show you guys a diagram, because remember, here are the things that need to be in that building. The boardroom needs to be in the building, and 21 spaces for office staff that's actually in the modular, okay, as well as preschool. We've gotten all the specs together and all the floor plans, and the square feet work perfectly for us. We just have to make sure the abatement process is done in a very safe order, so that when it's time for the kids to move in, everything is safe, excuse me. The other thing is for intermediate kids, for little kids, excuse me, there are certain specifications that have to be adhered to by the state. Restrooms, right size, as more than we have now, and they have to be the right height. So there are some very tight regulations that we have to kind of adhere to, but we are choosing the intermediate building because it is our best building. The other buildings, as you know, will be demolished so that we don't have to pay for services that we're not using. There was a diagram, but I will send this to you so that I can give you a layout. The current building that we're in is about 5,000 square feet. The area that we're talking about using is 9,000 square feet. That does not include the board space that's going to be modified as well. So moving tables and chairs and those things will be a thing of the past. It will be an actual solid set area where the board can actually conduct its business, and we can do it in a more efficient manner. So stay tuned, but again, the windows and doors are already, and we're working with SHP with the design. One of the things that SHP wanted to do, and I said I think it would create a problem, they wanted to create the area where the board would operate closer to the gymnasium. And I said, please keep in mind, there will still be little kids in the building. So that could actually kind of deter from some of the work that you guys do, like plays, getting ready for plays and those kinds of things in basketball games. Moving to this site today was a great idea, because there are 6 basketball games at the high school at the North Campus today. And that would have kind of restricted our traffic flow and those things. So this is quiet, more intimate, and I would like to say to the work crew, and especially to Mr. Day for coming in, organizing, and of course Tony using his expertise to say, here's the best layout in order for us to get the best picture and the best zoom and everything else. So thank you, Ms. Jordan, for everything with this. Again, it took some work because we were used to being over in the North Campus, but this has a different feel so that because we don't have a lot of activities in the evening. So we don't have to worry about parking and, walking around, and there's so many activities going on. So that is the update for now. We're no longer going to talk about the North and South Campus. We are at the end of our terms as far as the warranty is concerned. The warranties will end on those buildings in February and March. So Mr. Denny and I are taking very, very delicate walkthroughs, making sure everything is taken care of to make sure it meets the warranty conditions. If there's a warranty item that was already reviewed and they haven't had a chance to fix it yet, it will be part of the condition. So that's what we want to let you know. All right.
You said February and March of this year?
Yes, because remember, we moved into the North Campus in March of last year. We wanted the seniors to have the opportunity to enjoy the building, so that's when that clock starts ticking.
Okay. Very good, thank you. The next item on the agenda is 9.02, which is...
I had a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yes, please.
So some of these things I just don't know, so I'm just going to ask a couple questions just to get clarity. So the intermediate school, the one that's on Waycross, correct?
Yes, sir. 825.
Cool. So that's where the board, is that where your offices are moving? Okay.
One of the things that we did, Brandon, is we were very honest with the public. Because there were people out there, naysayers, saying you don't need new buildings. Of course, we know the story, and they thought that we were trying to build a lavish board room and a lavish superintendent suite and all that. And we said that was not part of our plan. We would like to put the best resources where the children are, and we also would like to have the preschool village in the same place where the board office is, so that we can watch our small kids grow into the experience. The other thing is, other than the superintendent's job, the best job in the world is the principal's job. However, you would not want to be the principal in a school where the superintendent's office is, because you automatically turn into his assistant principal, okay? He becomes the principal, every parent bypasses him and comes right to you. So we know that Liz Stiles has a different demeanor as far as little kids. You don't get a lot of traffic with parents and issues, things that you can usually really resolve. So we decided that we would have our building in the location. I asked the principals, it was an interesting meeting when we first started this project. Hey, principals, who would like to have the superintendent's office in your building? And they were like, not me.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, but Liz Stiles understood the perception of growing our kids with our most illustrious people, our executives and the board. So she says this would be a good fit. And it actually has worked in other districts very, very well.
Absolutely.
Moving it into high school, not so good.
Right.
Okay.
So so the trailers are going to get removed?
The trailer will be removed, yes, sir.
Okay. And then when do we get to see the new design of that?
Okay, we're working on the design now, so we're just having the first conversations with SHP, but we have to do the abatement because the 6-inch tiles actually have asbestos in them.
That makes sense.
So we are working on that part. We have to do that part before we start talking about which wall could be taken down, which things could be enhanced, which things can be changed.
Okay. And then when do we plan on, just a rough estimate, when do we plan on that move happening to that building?
Okay, the goal for us is August 2023.
Okay, cool.
The good part about it is we do have the money to get the project started, and we're very, very excited about that with the ESSER funds. But the other part is we don't want to put a lot of money into Primary North because it is going to be demolished. And one roof on some of these buildings costs about $2.5 million.
Now, which one is Primary North?
Primary North is right here in Green Hills. It's the elementary building.
Well, that answers my other question of what's going on in that building. All right, well.
Okay, so what's going to happen with that building, it is going to be demolished, and then we're going to have a really good, solid plan with the board. The board will be making some plans about green space. It's actually in the green belt or the green area. So there's only certain things you can do with that space. You can't do commercial properties and things like that. However, one of the things that you can do in the Greenbelt is put in recreational opportunities.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I do have a question on the Primary South. The
Yes,
old-
ma'am.
On South of the Lake. There was a sculpture presented by the Winton Educational Foundation that was in front of the building.
With the little kids holding the globe?
Yeah, was that moved, or do you have plans?
My goal at the point was to save it, and if you go by there, it is gone. The building is gone.
Right, yeah.
And so I have to make sure they did what I asked them to do. I wanted it to be preserved because we were going to move it actually out here to the courtyard.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah, I had a question from some of the foundation members that were asking me that question.
The only other option I have, Ms. Kuhn, if it's been moved, I may have to go out there and just pose every day and act like I'm that thing.
No.
Okay. But we wanted it was actually an incredible art piece.
Yes,
It was very
absolutely.
symbolic of what our district is about. Even though it was probably erected before project-based learning, but it actually enhances project-based learning, talking about kids embracing the world and working collectively with each other. So I am going to check again to see if it's around. Okay?
Okay, I hope so.
I got my
I hope
fingers
so
crossed.
too, because
Yeah.
that was going to be my question
It was
too.
there about a month ago.
Beautiful picture.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful piece, beautiful art piece.
Dr. Johnson, I got one more question.
Yes, please, go right ahead.
So the building that's on, was it Kingsbury? The old elementary school?
Old elementary school.
Is that going to be demolished as well?
Okay, so here's the other piece. One of the things that the board actually has the opportunity to do is to talk about buildings and operations in executive session, because you guys haven't made a decision about it. So you may want to go into executive session at a later date to talk about if you're going to sell the property, if you're going to reinvest the property, what you're going to do, because that would be your best option, because it's a private meeting.
Gotcha.
But,
Okay.
but it is in the works that those buildings are raised, that are on those properties.
Absolutely.
That's
Right.
written into our budget. and it's
Yeah,
already designed.
and the good part about it is we have a budget working with SHP where it was comparable dollars, not SHP, the Ohio Facilities Commission, comparable dollars where they're actually going to pay for half of the demolition costs. So that's why our timing is very, very important. We have to do it when we can do it. I think that Mr. Birdie, it may have been Ms. Kuhn, but I know it was Dr. Johnson, where we toured a facility which was was left standing for 21 years. And no one used it, and we had a different vision, and the board has a different vision. When the property is no longer going to be in use, we need to demolish the property. The other thing is the property is more valuable demolished than it is standing. So, there we go.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Right. And that's good information. It's exciting to see the district moving forward with the pre-approved plans that we really already have in place. So it's good to hear
Yeah,
that
and one other
information.
thing, Mr. Smith, is the buildings, when they're unoccupied, cost between $50,000 and $70,000 a year with no one in them.
Oh, okay.
Also the liability that would go along with it,
We
too.
were very concerned about that. And so we actually were concerned about the liability of somebody getting in, and, because it's still our property.
Right.
No matter what we think, it's still our property.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Smith, for that information. Like I say, it is exciting to see us moving forward with the plans that we really already have put in place. So, and we want to take advantage of the Ohio School Facilities money where they've already put it aside
Absolutely, we
to
do.
help us demolish those buildings. So, I want to take advantage of that. The next item on our agenda is 9.02, which is the reports of the superintendent for school reports. Mr. Smith, you have the floor.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so there are, we're going to actually take a deeper dive. We've already done a preliminary at the student Study committee meeting, and this is about the Wellington, Wellington, Newsela, and Arundel. All right, well, that's just here. So these are actually interactive opportunities where let me give you a quick snap about the Lou. Okay, so there's a wall in the gym that's been especially painted, and it's an interactive wall where kids can throw the ball, count numbers, do a variety of things that keeps them engaged. One of the things that Mrs. Bray has been on that committee and working with technology and also teaching and learning, the other teaching and learning directors, one of the biggest issues that's happening in our district and every other district is kids are no longer engaged, all right? They're losing their momentum, they're losing their energy, they're losing their thoughts about the world and how it means, because they've been isolated still with COVID. One of the things that we've been working on very, very strategically is about the student wellness part of it. Kids are coming to school very depressed. Kids are coming to school not excited. And so the LU actually brings a level of excitement, and what's going to happen is in the work session on February 14th, we will take a deeper dive with the people that have been engaged with the LU, and they'll give you an overview so you can ask all kinds of questions about it. There'll also be a demonstration opportunity as well. So one of the things that districts are working out now is, how do I get my kids engaged and excited about school? We look at COVID numbers and we look at absences. Some kids are missing and they don't have COVID and they're not sick. So we have to change that opportunity for them to make them love school again. PBL is actually a natural fit for it with the LU. Okay. The next one is, and these are the other things that the LU does, the mind, social, emotional, and as well as the body. So it actually does other things other than just the educational experience. It gives kids that sense of play and a sense of support. The next one is Newsela. So if I was working with you guys on 2 abstract pieces by Shostakovich and Bach, and I said, okay, what I'd like for you to do is give me the abstract differences between the 2. However, if you guys are on 6 different or 5 different reading levels, you don't get it. Oh, sorry. If you were, I'm surprised you didn't. If you're on 5 different reading levels, this is what usually happens in a traditional classroom. Mrs. Bray and I have both been teachers, and we understand the differences as it relates to diversified learning and making sure that kids understand the work. So if you're on 5 different reading levels, if that class is moving on, somebody's getting left behind. That happens every single day. So what Newsela does, if we were talking about Bach and Shostakovich, what would happen is, let's say Brandon has the most abstract piece with maybe 10,000 words in the article. And then Mr. Verdi has 800, and you have 500, you have 300, you have 200. It still keeps you in the concept and still keeps you in the program, still keeps you in the conversation. So when we break out in groups, you can still talk about Shostakovich and Bach. It may not be on that level, but then we grow you into the experience. So instead of teachers having to differentiate the lesson, Newsela does it for them. It does it in art, it does it in music, it does it in history, it does it in the sciences. So it breaks the vocabulary down, because I can tell you, if you go in any classroom, if we did an observation today, and Ms. Bray and I have done it before, I can show you the kid that's not in. I can show you the kid that's not paying attention. I can show you the kid who's pretending to pay attention and does not understand anything. The vocabulary is too rich. So what we eventually do is we don't leave that kid behind with that particular piece of vocabulary. We keep growing their vocabulary until they're able to do as many words as Brandon. That's the goal. And these are not students with disabilities, because if you don't enhance that vocabulary, what you end up doing is you keep trying to move them into her program, students with disabilities. I don't have a disability, I just have not been properly exposed. So Newsela does it without the teacher having to do it.
So are the students identified prior to, and they're assigned a level?
The teacher already knows who the kids are, and so when she's breaking out the curriculum and breaking out the standards, she knows who to give that piece to, but other kids don't know who has it. And so I can still, so if they say, when Shostakovich made his first piece and he tried to resemble something that Bach did, what were the instrumentations, and what did they want the piccolos and the strings to do with the viola? That kid can read that article and understand this is what Shostakovich was trying to do. So it's a different order, but it keeps people in the group, and it doesn't let kid get stigmatized by his peers, because once you realize I don't know where everybody is, I'm lost. I lose my confidence, I lose my way. So this is a way to enhance it, to keep all of the kids engaged in the work. It is absolutely a breakthrough. Okay.
And we get a deeper dive on this on the 14th as well.
You will take a deeper dive on the 14th. If I did each one of these with fidelity, we had it already planned, but we have another opportunity later, then each one would probably take you about 30 minutes, all right? And so we decided that we would put it into the work session, so you would have a chance to ask questions, and we're going to actually send you these reports so you will be able to have a chance to kind of study it to know what our kids are going to be engaged in. Okay. Panorama. So teachers need to know, and this whole educational journey is very, very fast-paced. So what Panorama does, it does this report on kids for teachers very, very quickly in real time. So when you are asking the teacher or asking the parent comes to the conference, it gives you a full report exactly where your kids are academically, and the report is very, very accurate, so that parents don't have to guess. They know where their kids are, they know where their standards are, and it also gives them an opportunity. When we started last week, we started planning for summer session. In summer session, we're trying to figure out not just a kid who's has deficiency, but the gifted kid as well. How do you keep him engaged so he stays gifted, so he stays engaged in the work? Panorama gives a full panoramic view of where this kid is academically, and it's done with software. Teachers don't even have to do the work. They just have to plug in where the kids' results are, and the results give them exactly where the students are academically. There's no excuse for where kids are academically. Those excuses are gone. So we make it very, very convenient for the teacher, because if the teacher's trying to deal with the issues of COVID, trying to do remote learning, and trying to do this too, it overwhelms the teachers. It's really, really too much. We learned a very, very valuable lesson, and that's where I'm hoping the board stays with the program. Either we are remote or we are in person. This back and forth, this blended, it does not work. I sent you guys an article about the blended opportunity. It absolutely destroys teachers' confidence in the work. You're working with this group. That group decides, okay, I got it. I've got the in-person opportunity. And then the group behind you are saying, wait a minute, we're remote. You're spending too much time with this group. Kids are flashing into different experiences. They're not with the work. They're all over the board as it relates to technology. So in order for it to be fair, and there are teachers unions all over the country filing lawsuits against the board and the superintendent, because it's like you're putting us in situations that we are not trained for. Folks, we tried it. We tried it with a level of fidelity, and we realized that it overburdens our kids and it overburdens our staff. So we need to make some very, very solid decisions. It's either I'm in school full-time or I'm remote so my teachers can deal with it and balance it. So we started the asynchronous piece where the kids had to complete their assignments. Teachers sent the assignments out. That's how we were taking attendance. Are you completing your work and turning it back in? The next phase, so we did it as a slow transition. The next phase was the synchronous learning, where the kids are all online, all there working with the teacher right there in real time. And then, of course, this phase is we all come back to school. Our attendance is better. The teacher's attitude, their morale is better. Now, it's only been one day, but one day beats no days. Yes, sir.
Just for point of clarification for myself, when you say blended learning, is that when the students have the option of whether they want to come to school or something like that?
We do not give them that option here. Okay. Because what we found out, Mr. Smith, is when we gave them that option, the kids who had the option did not fare well.
Okay.
And then parents are saying, my kid didn't do well. And the thing that made the blended opportunity change is one day you say, I want to come in person, and the next day I want to be blended. Then the next day I want to come in person, then I want to be blended. The teacher couldn't keep track of it. They didn't know exactly where the kids were. And it wasn't because the teachers were negligent. That overwhelms you. When you imagine having 32 kids in a class.
We were doing like the blue-green day.
The blue-green days worked because the teachers were already, they were creating a asynchronous platform. So you two are blue, you two are green, and what we would do is we give your assignments, and then if you want to enhance and work on more assignments, you would tune in. But other than that, we're dealing with this particular group. And we did it in a small number, but that still wasn't ideal.
Right.
It beats the blended deal, but nothing beats in person.
Right.
Nothing beats.
One question, on the collected data, does it compare against just the class or the state
The whole
of Ohio
thing.
or the?
It can compare against the class, it can compare against the district, it can compare against other districts. So it's going to give you a real piece about where you are and how you fit, so we can bring that information back. One of the things that Mr. Birdie mentioned after coming back from OSBA, we need to have more data-driven conversations at board meetings so we can see exactly where our kids are academically, so we're attempting to do that.
And this would help?
Tremendously.
Okay.
So when you're expecting a teacher to teach, and then you have to bring me raw data, that's a lot. So if we can find software that can do it for you, then guess what? We have no excuses.
Right.
Okay. This one is my best one. Okay. So you have 4 categories: the grind, the engaged, the bored, and the entertained. Okay. What we've done now, and we had to get some kind of conditions with the Teachers Association, where you're here for this lesson and you're in the class, and then after the lesson, you have to take your dot and you place it where you thought that lesson was. It's the kid placing the dot where the instructional strategy was. So then afterwards, you're looking at the state standards and you're saying, okay, based on the state standards, you're saying, hey, listen, I hated that class. I hated the class. It was just a lot. And then when you look at the state assessment, you scored one of the highest scores. The grind was there. You really didn't appreciate it until you saw what your scores were. And then you have other classes that are totally entertaining. You're like, I love this class, and you flatline. It's like, I got nothing out of it. So they determined if it's a boring class, if they hated it, if they loved it, if they were engaged, and if they were entertained. So this goes back to the whole child. If they're saying, okay, here's a dot matrix. First of all, it does not identify the teacher, nor does it identify the kid. All right? So let's say the kid is having a bad day and they rally around each other and say, we're going to score you bad because we don't like you very much. That's not going to happen. Okay? I hope. But what it does is it talks about the engagement of the student. One of the reasons kids don't come to school across the state is because they're not engaged. I've lost the engagement. You're giving me a ton of work and you're saying, finish this work, but where's the engagement? Where's my voice? Where's my connection with my class? PBL is a natural fit. We were worried about PBL at some point in time. Was it a natural fit for the district? Well, guess what? With this change in the whole thing with COVID and getting kids back engaged academically, it fits us perfectly. I'm going to actually be on a Zoom call with Senator Blessings tomorrow, Lou Blessing, with Lydia from New Tech. And what Senator Blessing wants to know is, how does your program capture the whole child with project-based learning? I can tell him that, and I can talk to him for a month and let him know about all the other pieces that go along with it, because our students' voices have changed the outcome of where we are and where we fit and how we see it. Okay? Good enough? So one day I'm going to have the kids come and tell me about a board meeting. Was it a grind? Was it boring? Was it what? And see what happens.
Mr.
right.
Smith, one question that I had is the training on each one of these softwares. Will the students already be getting trained on how to use it?
Absolutely.
And that means our tech center is going to be involved in
Tech
that.
Center is already involved. We put the Tech Center right in the middle of a lot of these things. And if you notice, Doc, it was one of those things that you came up with at SAC. Why student achievement separated from technology?
Right.
They go together.
Right.
This is the world that we are. So they used to have separate technology meetings and separate student achievement meetings. No, it doesn't make sense. That is a blended operation that needs to go and be a natural fit. So what districts are doing now that are not project-based learning districts, what they're doing now is trying to figure out, how do I separate this kid from this catastrophe called COVID and talk about the whole child? Well, what they're doing is they're talking about the whole child, but they're not blending it into education. Ours is a natural flow.
All right, okay.
Okay?
Yeah, that's the question I had. And parents will be given information on how they can access it as well.
But remember, yeah, here's the other part. We're gonna break these down. So what we're gonna do at the work session, you'll take a deeper dive and you'll see a demonstration of how it works. You'll also, at future board meetings, we'll have kids come and give a testimony. This is how it worked for me. We'll also have parents engaged. When he came home and we say, this is what's going to happen with the Lou, let's have your kid talk about the Lou. So we're going to do actually reports. We're going to actually have surveys. Tell me about this instrument that's supposed to make your child's life better. We've studied it. We've been studying some of these for like 2 years before we purchased the software. Okay?
Very good. All right, thank you, Mr. Smith. Let's see, the next item on our agenda is 10.01, which is the personnel schedules. So, Mr. Smith, back to you for the personnel schedules.
Yes, Madam President. The recommendation, I don't know, when I saw Ms. Bryant standing, I started standing, so I don't know what that's about. So the first one is Schedule A, resignations. Schedule B, Schedule B, personnel employment, certificated only. Schedule C, personnel employment, support staff. And if you see the NA means that you don't need a permit to, of course you need the bus driving endorsement, but you don't need a permit to be a driver, okay? So if you see, they don't need a pupil activity permit. So when you see some of these that say NA, that's what that's talking about. The other one is Schedule D, personnel employment, certificated and uncertificated, including extra duties. And we're moving on to Schedule E, leaves. These are some of our people that are on FMLA. And finally, the one that may have something to do with your document is Schedule M. One of the things that you see, especially coming from the personnel department and the superintendent's office, you very rarely see that schedule. And there's a lot of things that go into it to make sure we don't have that schedule.
Okay.
So the recommendation is to approve the schedules A to M.
Okay, well, let's get a motion on the floor, and then I know that we do have some questions in this schedule.
Sure. I'd like to make a motion to approve the personnel schedules as presented.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded, and I know that we do have some questions, so the floor is now open for questions or discussion.
I appreciate the superintendent. I had passed along a couple questions just for clarification because there was a couple pieces that had confused me. There was one where somebody had resigned and then they were on the hire thing. And I don't know if Mr. Smith wants to elaborate on that.
First of all, Ms. Kuhn, I do appreciate you using the term someone and not the names because I think it's important that we do that.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that happens. We expect our employees to be very honest with the level of integrity. And when the employee says, I can no longer do this job, maybe I have daycare issues, maybe I'm taking care of a sick relative, maybe it's just overwhelming to me. I'd like to stay with the district, but there's something that I can do that's less here and more here. And what we do when we have that opportunity, we say, hey, listen, there's a change in opportunity, but your pay is going to be changed as well. So that has to be reflected in the board minutes that you can't have the same supervisory opportunity and get the same pay. Right. So that was one situation. The other one is that you asked, it was about exempt employees versus classified. And that was a change in placement due to the pickup on the pickup for an employee that we sent information around to other districts, and we realized that particular employee in other districts did receive pickup on the pickup. Mr. Seymour can give you more detail of how it works, but what we don't want to do is have our employees outclassified where other districts are treating them one way and we treat them different. Okay? We don't want grievances filed. We don't want to have any kind of negative feelings about the employee. So when we see something that seems to be out of line, we go in and try to fix it before there is an issue.
Sure. And then the last one, I think, was just a question about a column, new and...
Yes. So we're going to make some changes in this report where if you come from a position to a position, it's going to show the from and to. Okay? And when there's a page break like you have in your document, we'll actually clean the page up and let it be a different thing so that you can see it and you won't have to fold it like Dr. Johnson's attempting to.
Yeah.
Get the headings.
Yeah, that'll make it easier to follow the...
Ms. Kuhn, if you could see, and this is not anything negative about anyone, I think we've done a very good job in our personnel department, but if you could see where this personnel schedule has come from before to now, it is absolutely light years ahead. But there's one more version of it that we can use that would actually give you a more solid approach. It will show the to and from, and it also show the salary right there for each individual of what they're changing to. It's a cleaner opportunity.
Sure, I appreciate that, because I know there was some changes as we went along, showed the certification of our teachers, and that was really helpful. So I appreciate the openness and transparency.
We'll be on version number 15, but we're going to go.
Oh, we keep making it better. So.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Kuhn. Those were some of the questions that we had discussed, so.
Ms. Kuhn, did that answer your questions?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
And as for our Schedule M, we'll have to read what that was all about. We didn't get the gist of that, so we'll get that at a later date. So are there any other questions for discussion at this time? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call the vote?
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Ms. Bryant?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye. That vote passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is 10.02, which is the exempt salary schedule and classified administrative salary schedule. Mr. Smith, back to you.
Yes, I just gave an overview about that one, Dr. Johnson, probably a little premature, but is to approve the exempt salary schedule effective February 1st, 2022, and a classified administrative salary schedule effective February 1st, 2022 as well.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Smith. Board, you've had an opportunity to look at those documents for the classified administrative schedule and the exempt employee schedule, so a motion would be in order at this time.
I'll make a motion to approve the exempt salary schedule effective February 1st, 2022, and the classified administrative salary schedule effective February 1st, 2022 as presented.
I second the motion.
It's been motioned and seconded. Are there any questions for discussion? I will just state that I remember when I first came onto the board, this wasn't like this. You know, the steps weren't identified, the ranges weren't identified, and I think this makes it a lot cleaner document. So for those of you who might be seeing this for the first time, trust me when I tell you this is much better than what we had in the past. So I appreciate having that information in this form. So, having said that, if there aren't any other questions for discussion, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Ms. Bryant?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye. That vote passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is 10.03, which is the revised 2022-2023 school calendar. Mr. Smith, you have the floor.
Yes, Madam President and Board, if you have your calendars on your desktops or in person, one of the things that I wanted to do, and it's been very successful, is our calendars are 2 years in advance. So we move our calendars a year in advance so that we don't have to worry about, hey, working and kind of struggling with that particular year where we're trying to open school. So it's really to our advantage and it works. So for the calendar year 22-23, we're proposing something a little different. The calendar committee is a committee of teachers, administrators, who's already said this is a great idea, let's move forward on it, but it has to be vetted by the board. So if you look, we used to have 2 weeks of professional development. The teachers are saying we really don't need 2 weeks, but there are some teachers that say we do need 2 weeks. So what we did is we balanced it in the middle, and we have 3 days of PD, the 10th, 11th, and 12th of August, and then 5 days of PD, the 15th through the 19th, which means the first day of school, first quarter, is actually the 22nd of August. But the other thing that the teachers mentioned, so we don't have the 10 days of PD, if you look at the legend to your bottom right, it is 185 instructional days. That is contractual. You have to have no more. You can't have more. You can't have less. You can't have more. However, we're calculated by hours, so we're well above the hours that we're supposed to have, but we can actually do something different with the schedule, because if you look at the far left, there are 164 instructional days that a student must have, okay? So the other part of this that makes it wholesome is when you look at the PD days, 3 days and then 5, one of the things that the teachers ask, and the staff, administrators, everyone, some districts have what's called a fall break. And so teachers were getting kind of worn down. And they said, Superintendent, do you think we can create a fall break with our committee and you bring it to the board? So if you look on October, in the October months, the 13th and 14th, there's a fall break for students and teachers. It's the 13th, it's the 14th, and then there's Records Day for no students on the 17th. Still gives them the same amount of time, but they have a fall break in the middle of the year, in the middle of October, instead of waiting until November. That's a long time in between. And teachers said, staff said, bus drivers said, cook said, if we could figure out a way to get a fall break in between like other districts, not lose our hours, not lose our time, not lose our teacher contractual time, we would appreciate it if you could work on the numbers. So Ms. Jordan and I have been working on this for about how long? Long time. Long time. And taking it back to the vote, we had to come back different times. The other thing that teachers want to know, and Mr. Seymour was very, very helpful as well, because the OPSI folks, the clerical people, the bus drivers, the food service people, they get a separate invitation of when their days are. So it's not on this calendar, but they know what theirs are in advance. One of the things that we wanted to make sure, if you look at the middle of the calendar, the original calendar did not look like this. It wasn't color-coded this way. Teachers know when their work days are. If I'm a parent, for the student, when you had Alex here, Ms. Kuhn, you would have wanted to know, when are your days? Okay? The other thing is, when are school vacation days? So it's very, very laid out with the days, the time, everything that the parent needs. Because one of the things with parents changing their schedules, we figured out as a district, if we can make this convenient for parents, it makes our lives better as well. Parents know exactly when their kids should be in school because this calendar, the original calendar that we have, has to be printed early. So sometimes the calendar is off based on certain things that we have no control over. This is a very accurate document that has days and hours for teachers and students as well.
Very good, very good. Well, I appreciate the fact that you do work so far in advance to make sure, so that if there is something that needs to
We
change,
can catch it.
you could catch it, absolutely. Okay, Board, if there are no other questions for,
Do we need a motion before we
oh, I'm sorry, I'm on 10.02, I'm sorry, yes. Please, let's make a motion, I apologize.
I would like to make a motion to approve the revised 2022 through 2023 school calendar as presented.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Are
What-
there any questions for discussion?
Sure. Oh, go ahead.
Yes.
I was just going to ask, what was different that was revised from the previous one? Or I don't know if it points out what was different.
Yeah, what was
From-
different, Ms. Kuhn, is there was 10 days of professional development, and teachers are saying we don't need that much.
Oh, so that at the beginning of the year, it
Yes.
took away 2 and moved it to?
Yeah, and then for the 23-24, we're going to revise it again. We're going to actually work in 2 PD days and actually balance it out a little bit better. And one of the things that we wanted to do, I'd like to try to push in a different direction. I would like to eventually, because of the lost time with COVID, because of the things that we can't predict, I want to have a safety net that we start school you said the week of the 8th to the 12th, that would be the PD week, and then the next week of the 15th, that's when school would start for students. I want to keep pushing it back until we get kids to have more school and more opportunities. I can exceed these hours. It doesn't matter. But it's the same amount of time for teachers. I cannot give them more time, but I can give kids more time. So if school could start one more week for kids, that's an advantage. It's not a disadvantage to anyone.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Did you have a question,
I
Ms.
do have a
Bryant?
question.
Yes.
The half records, half PD day, can you explain that?
Okay, yes, ma'am. So what we've done now is we worked collectively with the teachers, and they have a day where it's a PD opportunity and then a half day of records. And so what we've done is we've said, okay, we need to make sure that we give you new information that's coming out from the Department of Education as it relates to students with disabilities. I don't want to take, it doesn't take a whole day. So the second part of your day, you work on your grades and your records. The first part of your day, you come to the PD. And we split it in between the two so that we don't have to have another day to do it.
Gotcha.
It makes sense?
It does.
Okay.
I just want to make sure it's clear for parents under school vacation days. As a parent, I would go, what's a half a record and a half? Do they go to school for half a day? So just making sure the parents understand
Yeah.
that the student is out that entire day, but the teachers are working.
And the other thing, Ms. Bryant, what we do is we send out correspondences about it in addition to what's on this calendar.
I love the color coding, just for the record. I think it makes it a lot easier as a parent
Yes.
to look through. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Are there any other questions at this time? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call the vote?
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Ms. Bryant?
Aye.
Mrs. Coon?
Aye.
Mr. Smith? Aye. Dr. Johnson?
Aye. That vote passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is 10.04, which is the revised 2023-2024 school calendar. Mr. Smith, back to you.
Okay, so if you see 2023, 2024, you notice the same opportunity. However, there's only 2 days of PD on the 10th and 11th during that week, and then the next 5 days are professional development. So there's only 7 because the teachers are saying and the staff is saying, I don't need 10. But as soon as you stop 10, they're going to say, I needed 10. So what we do, we slowly took it away and made it 8 and made it 7, and I think this is a good place to be. Because some teachers are saying, I need 15 days professional development. We're like, whoa, wait a minute, you need 15 days. And the other thing is our teachers are becoming more acclimated to technology and new tech, so we don't need as many PD days and just, boring the teachers out of their mind about just having more time. I like to split that time and put that time in the hands of children.
Do you have a program for new teacher and the beginning so that you?
There is, you see the first 3 days that you have there, the 7, 8, and 9? Those teachers, new teachers would be coming those 3 days.
So
So
that
they-
wouldn't violate their contract?
No,
or
ma'am,
anything
it
like
would
that?
not.
Okay.
Because that means remember, the 2 weeks, we could actually put the 2 weeks in today if we wanted to. We just backed off in order to have the winter break.
Okay.
And we're always very, very conscious about the teacher contract. When I first arrived, we were having meetings with the WWTA once a quarter. No good. That means 4 times a year. Do you know how much can happen in a quarter? So we changed it, and we actually meet with them once a month. When it was time, when we were having conversations and teaching and learning was part of the conversation, we were actually meeting with teaching and learning along with the WWTA and OPSI every 2 weeks.
Okay.
All right, Board, let's get a motion on the floor, and then we can talk any other discussion we might have.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2023-2024 school calendar as presented.
I second that motion.
It's been motioned and seconded. Are there any questions for Mr. Smith? I just want to say thank you for clarifying when the new teacher training would be.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And believe it or not, teachers really appreciate knowing what their calendar is 2 years from now.
Oh, yeah.
They can plan their family vacations and their schedules around it. And schools know how many days you have to have for teachers. And I'm saying, why don't you have a schedule that goes further out? Because you have to have so many days. What are you waiting for?
Yeah, exactly. And this is a living document, no matter.
And it gets modified as we need to based on the feedback from OPSI and the teachers.
Right, right.
Great, thank you.
Okay, seeing that there are no other discussions for the 2023-2024 school calendar, Mr. Seymour, would you please call the vote?
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Ms. Bryant?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye. That vote passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is 10.05, which is the second read. This is the second time we've seen these revised board policies, and there are a total of 7 policies for this second read. Mr. Smith, you have the floor.
Yes, and Madam President, in the future, if we start going past 7 policies, we probably need to not do more, because that just overwhelms the system.
I agree.
There was one time, and it wasn't this board, but we had 12 that we had to review, and I don't know. That's a lot.
Yeah, 7 is enough for me to read and get
So
through
the
them, so.
recommendation is to approve the second read of Policy 7450, Property, the 8330, Operations Student Records, 8400, Operations as well, School Safety. Policy 8462 is Student Abuse and Neglect. Policy 8600, Transportation. Policy 8651, non-routine use of school buses, and Policy 8740, bonding. And for the board's convenience, the reason I read these out is if people watching on Waycross, they know what things we're talking about. And if they have questions, they can say, hey, Sue, can you tell me what that policy means? Because I know you brought it up to the board this month.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Board, a motion would be in order, and then we can open the floor for discussion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the second read, the revised board policies as presented.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Are there any questions?
Yeah, just for Ms. Bryant and Mr. Smith. If you go to the last page of any of these, it says Neola, and it gives you a date. These aren't policies, I think Mr. Smith would agree with this, that we just, administration
Right.
just makes up and comes up with. There's an organization,
That's
Neola,
good to
that
know.
actually helps us keep these updated.
Thank you,
On a-
that was my question.
on
When
a
I saw
reg-
that, I was like, what is Newsela?
On a regular
When I was
basis.
reading-
So they provide us with updates. We do the same thing at the Great Oaks meetings as well.
Thank
They
you.
use Neola as well.
So they actually do it, and
Appreciate
thank you,
that.
Mr. B, for clarifying that. They actually do it because they're saying these are the ones that you're probably going to have to deal with, so you need to revise your policies. So they actually have a timeline associated with it. So if you see something and it says Neola, we have a meeting with the Neola reps, and we talk about the policies of any changes, and then we bring it to the board for their approval.
Thank you for that clarification. I appreciate that.
Make sense, Mr. Smith?
Yeah, I just have one question about one of the policies and
Yes,
the
please.
wording in the policy.
Go right ahead.
So in the school safety policy.
8400?
Yes, 8400. I just have a question of why in the threat assessment that it's recommended, and it's just a wording concern of mine. It says, and I don't want to have to read the whole thing, but I guess that's page 4 of 6 at the top paragraph when it says who would be included in the creation of the team.
Yes.
It says and or the school resource officer. And I guess my issue with that is I would really like to know why we wouldn't just have and not or, and not always include our school resource officer in that. And like I said, when it comes to documents like this, I understand wording is key. And so when it says and or, the option of not including a resource officer to me is kind of, in this day and age, questionable.
Okay, I think you make a good point, and here's the point. Sometimes that school resource officer is not available.
Correct.
And so you have to move on with the process. And the other thing is, we are a district that has 1, and many districts have 15 and 16. Okay. So we can actually go back to Neola and say we'd like to say personal and the resource officer, because if there's any kind of liability or issue that comes out of it, and we're saying where was the resource officer, we're saying that it says and or. If the and is not available, the or can't be. So it just kind of it gives us some relief that somebody would say, where was your resource officer? It says they should be there. We're saying there's some certain conditions why that resource officer can't be there. We have one who has a vacation, who has time, and in some cases, Forest Park or Green Hills will not send an alternate. Like, here's an example. We came back to school today. Resource officer's on vacation. And we have a backup, but in a situation like this, the and or does protect the district. Right. But we can put it in there and make it very, very definitive, but I'm not sure if you guys really want to do that.
Nope, like I said, I just wanted to get a clarification of why we would use the and or when I was reading through that. And that basically answers my question, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, because if we assemble the team and the resource officer can't be there, it's almost saying like that team can't meet.
Gotcha.
The team has to be able to meet when the resource officer is not there or when he's not available.
Thank you.
So
and I didn't know we just had one for the district, so that's another thing I didn't know.
And that's why we are talking about the next opportunity in May, because we need more than one.
Absolutely. Right. Thank you. Appreciate that.
We absolutely need more than one.
Would the and/or also extend, not so much the principal, they would head it, but it looks like the school counselor, school psychologist, instructional personnel, the and/or could apply to those depending on who's available or not?
It
It's not like
absolutely
those
does.
people have to be part of it.
Yeah,
or
no,
something.
because what happens, you don't want to create a team and you're like, hey, some of your people are not available,
Right.
and you're like a team of 2. That's no
Right.
good.
Mm-hmm.
So you find an alternate resource, and in our documentation, we have people who are alternates. I know Ms. Bray actually creates a lot of the opportunities with students with disabilities with her responsibilities, and we always have to have a backup of the backup. Every member on my team has a thought partner. So when she's here today and no other people from the team are here, it is her responsibility to disseminate all the information to the team, so we don't ever say, I wasn't here.
Right.
Nobody cares.
Right. So the policy isn't diminishing the role of the resource officer?
Not at all.
Okay, so that's what I was thinking. It wasn't making it like they were maybe
They're
part
not
of it.
optional. We will
Right.
call on them first.
Yeah.
And in some districts, I'm sure Winton Woods is not to that point yet. They're talking about deputizing teachers and staff, and we're like, that's big. That takes a lot of something to get that done.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you for the explanation. I just wanted to make clear on that.
All right, Board, are there any other questions for discussion with regards to our second read? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call the vote?
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Ms. Bryant?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye, that vote passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is 11.01, which is the Board of Education reports or the legislative report. Mrs. Kuhn, do you have any information that you want to share with us at this time?
I took a beginning orientation with doing it, and the superintendent and I will coordinate a little bit more thoroughly next time. But just to give folks an opportunity to kind of equate with OSBA, and there's a lot of information that's really, really helpful, and I kind of just took a mix of each week. They give some different information. Some weeks are slower than others. Some may have some application, some may not, and I know the superintendent has some words. But I did want to acknowledge one of our former board member, Ms. Jessica Miranda, who was appointed to the Ohio House Democratic Caucus. So as a minority leader, or she's the new assistant minority leader.
Very good move.
So I wanted to kind of bring that out to our team, that we as board members are also advocates for our students, and people move on to different positions, so I think that's exciting. It just touches on some different work that's going on in the House and the Senate in Ohio. And I did want to point out, too, that there's a link, and I can send it to you, too, but there's an effective advocacy for school leaders. It has 9 points. It talks about how school boards can be very involved in the advocacy and leadership of our role in the state of Ohio for our students. I think that's really important. And then also the continued education. Just like we're over the education of our students, we also should have the mindset to be wanting to learn more and expand our roles and be better board members. And I know Mr. Smith had gone to the initial what's it called, School Board 101, or which I think is really neat. And then there's another deeper dive that's in February the 12th that gives you additional training. So it's a great resource. We always continue to learn and grow. There's lots of different issues that the board faces and questions, and never ending challenge that we want to be abreast, informed on what's going on so we can make good decisions and ask good questions to both our superintendent and our treasurer. And it can make sense, and we can explain it to our community. Because we're all about education, and we want to educate ourselves, we want to educate our community, and we want to make it a seamless, transparent information from here to our community. That's really important.
Well, when you talk about the legislative piece, I know that you had questions and you came early and we talked about those, but I think it was very important to bring it back so that the public can understand what the variables were, so that we can say we understand this collectively as a team. The other thing, you kind of threw me off when you said Mr. Smith went to 101. I said, I've been to 1001. What's 101? That's the first meeting. And I said, oh, they took my certificates. They took my stuff back. So you're talking about that guy down there. All right.
Yes. Yes.
We might have to distinguish Superintendent Smith and Mr. Smith.
I got it.
Yes.
I was shocked a little bit. I'm thinking, like, where am I?
I did demote you. You did get demoted.
Very good. Thank you, Mrs. Kuhn. We appreciate your gathering this information and giving us these links for us to go back and look at some things later. Okay, the next item on the agenda is 11.02, which is the Great Oaks report from Mr. Purdy. Do you have something that you'd like to share?
Yes, and I was going to go quickly, but this may not go as quickly as everyone would like. I wound up sending 2 emails to everybody, and I apologize. The first email I realized had the wrong attachments to it, so hopefully the second one has the correct attachments to it for the last Great Oaks meeting. There were a large number of Winton Woods students who were recognized in the Spotlight on Student report, and I'd like to highlight those as really part of my report. Brooklyn McMiller, who is in surgical technology, has taken the National Technical Honor Society office of Vice President, and there is a Health Occupation Students of America organization that apparently puts on local competitions where they have the students come in and perform certain tasks, and then they grade them and they place them in these events. And Brooklyn McMiller also placed in the HOSA local competition winner, 3rd place in prepared speech. Monet Ware is in dental assisting, and she received the Scarlet Citizenship Award. Javier Rios Fontanez is in veterinary assisting and also received the Scarlet Citizenship Award. We had Yasmin Augustin Rodriguez is in cosmetology, and cosmetology local competition winner. She came in 3rd place in hair. Autumn Williams, cosmetology local competition winner. She came in 5th place in hair. Isada Ndia, health tech. She was in the HOSA local competition winner. She came in 2nd place in behavioral health. Messiah Jones is in dental assisting. HOSA local competition winner, 2nd place in dental assisting technology. Jashana Derby, dental assisting, HOSA local competition winner, 3rd place in dental assisting technology. Julie Escalante Perez, surgical technology, HOSA local competition winner, 1st place in human growth and development. Janiyah Lewis, health tech, HOSA local competition winner, 1st place in research poster. Gary Dorsey, dental assisting, HOSA local competition winner, 2nd place in healthcare display. Ariana Green, exercise science, HOSA local competition winner, 1st place in sports medicine. Jaden Hogan, health tech, HOSA local competition winner and 1st place in public service announcement. Carmel Johnson, health tech, HOSA local competition winner, 1st place in public service announcement. Tavera Hill, health tech, HOSA local competition winner, 1st place in public service announcement. Shaylin Uribe Martinez, surgical technology, HOSA local competition winner, 2nd place in public service announcement. So I like, out of all the things that I do, just want to try to make sure that the students get some recognition for what they're doing out at the Great Oaks. So
That's awesome.
With that, I'll conclude my report, and if anybody ever has questions, please feel free to reach out, and I'll try to answer them.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Birdie. It's nice to see so
was
many
a
of our
lot.
students, being highlighted and showcased.
Really like
So-
National Technical Honor Society.
Yeah.
Vice president.
Yes, yes, that it really
Brooklyn
is.
McMiller.
Yeah. That's
Impressive.
awesome. That's
That's great.
impressive. I appreciate that update. Thank you so much. The next item on our agenda is 12.01, which is board motions and recommendations. Board, do we have any? Mr. Smith, Mr. Seymour? I don't have anything at this time. You have anything you'd like to share with us, Mr. Seymour, Mr. Smith? Okay, well, let's move right on to 13.01, which is comments from the Board of Education. And Mr. Seymour, we'll start with you.
Oh, I don't have anything tonight, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Smith.
I don't have anything, thank you.
All right. And Mr. Purdy.
Just real quick, everybody involved in the recognition of the board, thank you very much. We appreciate that. As Dr. Johnson said, this is kind of a labor of love. We do enjoy it, especially when we get to do things like recognize students and community members for their contributions to what's going on. So thank you to everybody involved.
Thank you, Mr. Birdie. Mrs. Kuhn.
Welcome back our students and staff to in-person learning. I think that's really important. That's what the community is really looking for. That's what our new buildings were built for, so I'm excited about that. I did want to make one correction. Representative Miranda is the minority whip. I think she'd want me to say exactly what her real
Yes, she would.
title would be.
She's probably texting you right now.
Yeah, so just in case, I'm getting a mental text about it. So I wanted to make sure I correctly identified her role. It's very important. And thank you to all of our staff for your hard work during COVID and our students. And we're excited about having you back in the classrooms engaged.
Thank you, Mrs. Kuhn. Ms. Bryant.
I'd like to echo the sentiments of Ms. Kuhn and Mr. Birdie. Thank you so much for the warm welcome as a new board member. It feels nice to be recognized. Also, welcome back, and please be safe out there. So thank you for everything that you do, showing up every day to give our students the best advantage and moving the world of education forward. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, Superintendent Smith.
Yes, I sent a document to you, to the board, letting you guys understand the blended learning opportunity and why that's such an overwhelming situation. I spoke a little bit about it earlier. And then the other thing is I appreciate the teachers, the staff, the board, everyone, where we had to have that break and get a refresh, and now our numbers are up. We're 90% close to the board with all categories. And we know that people had to take some time to get healthy. And I'm happy that the board afforded them that time so that they can come back and give the kids the best learning opportunities that we can. So kudos. Second is, I know Mr. Seymour and I have been working on this. There are some districts that don't have their own transportation fleet. And when bus drivers were calling off, they were just saying to the non-public and the private schools, you can't get transportation. The Ohio Department of Education has taken money from those districts. Even though that's not your fleet, you have to provide transportation to those kids. So when we had the state championship game and we called a day, we still had to do non-pubs and whatever. When we were called off to do our refresh, we still were required to have transportation for the non-public schools and private schools. That is our responsibility. There is a district that just got tagged with $700,000, and two of our biggest districts in the state are at $2.5 million. The state is already recovering that money. So we want to make sure that people understand that even if we're closed, the non-pubs and the privates still have to transport their kids. Regardless if they go to Winton Woods or not, they're still part of this community, and we have to treat them with respect. So there you go.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Just to close it all out, again, just to say thank you to our community partners. Thank you for the recognition for the board. We always get those messages for the nutrition is the mission. Just thank you for the team that, you know, even during the time that the students were out of school, they were still doing, you know, that work. And, you know, it's just really important that we recognize them and let them know that we appreciate the work that they're doing. So with that said, that's all I have. That leads us to 14.01, and board, there is a need for an executive session. So therefore, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session at this time. I'm not really sure, did we locate a place that we were going to move to?
Room 1111, straight down the hall.
Okay, we will be moving to room 1111 down the hall. So board, a motion would be in order at this time.
I'll make a motion to go into an executive session to discuss a complaint against a public employee.
A second.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded. Mr. Seymour, would you please call the vote?
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Ms. Bryant?
Aye.
Mrs. King?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye. Thank you. Thank you, Waycross Media, for your service in videotaping tonight's meeting. We will not come out of executive session and vote on any other action. So with that said, that takes us to 15.01, and I call this meeting of the Winton Woods City School Board of Education regular meeting for Monday, January the 24th, 2022, adjourned. Thank you. Stay safe, healthy, and warm, and have a good evening.